Nothing that we've said today is a prescription. Nothing that we said today is actual medical advice. You should consult your own healthcare professional.
See your doctor, people.
See your
nurse practitioner.
See your healthcare professional for your own tailored, individualistic care. This is generalized information. Everything that we've discussed here is for entertainment purposes only.
All right.
Last time you were here, we were talking about weight loss, and you gave Jason and I a big pro tip, which was to eat avocados and hard-boiled eggs. We've been doing that. How's it working out for you, Jason?
It's good. I it definitely works. I led off with, I could eat anything, and I can, but doing it for 2 weeks solid is pretty tough.
Yeah.
It is good though. And it is everything you said was 100% true. It's like, but after like the third day, I'm just like, man, I don't want to eat nothing. So I guess it worked.
Yeah. Biscuits and gravy I saw on your Facebook, with the mimosa, swallowing it down with a mimosa. I don't know if that's prescribed there.
Yeah,
I've been doing it.
Champions.
Yeah. I've been doing it, Sean. 5 pounds so far.
That's awesome.
Right. So, but we're moving into the second episode now, and I wanted to follow up something that I thought would be important for our viewers and for people is if it's not getting you there, right? So, I turned 50, I had my birthday, I was eating cake and stuff. So, your appetite increases for me. The more I eat, I notice my appetite's like, man, I need more. And then I have to force myself to, quit doing it. But I find myself hungry after like 2.5 hours after eating the egg and the thing. So I go for a handful of chips. I'm wondering, is there like medical help, like pills? We didn't really get into like Ozempic and some of those type of things. Yeah, some of those type of things. So I wanted to follow up. If I do this for 6 months and I'm stuck at, I can only lose 8 pounds, I'm just hungry all the time, it's driving me nuts. Is there some help that, you can get from a medical professional?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things in regards to that would be...
Bring it a little closer to you.
A little closer.
Yeah, you can bring it closer and down.
Closer and down.
And then tilt that thing up. Yeah.
Tilt it up.
There you go. Good. Perfect.
Got it. All right, nailing it now.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of things that can be done. First of all, there's a psychological component to food. There is a reward center in the brain that releases hormones, nice, feely good hormones, oxytocin and things like that, that can make you almost addicted to food. When you eat Oreos, there's hormones that are produced that make you feel better, and people sometimes reach for food when they're stressed, when they're tired, when they're bored, whether they're sad, sometimes happy, right? We celebrate with food a lot. So sometimes it's behavior modification. You got to have a replacement when you have that craving. So, you eat the avocado, an hour later, it's like, I had some chips or Oreos. Reach for a better alternative. How about a protein shake? Something like that, or something that's going to benefit you, right, rather than hurt you. So that would be one thing. Find alternatives that you could snack on. Hummus and cucumbers. Does it taste as good as an Oreo? No. Does it give you the same reward benefit as an Oreo is feeling good? Probably not. But this is behavior modification. We know what's good for us. And we also know what's bad for us. And so if you have those alternatives already in place as a plan, helps you to develop better habits. There's a couple of supplements that you could also try to help reduce cravings. One of them is called chromium picolate. That's an over-the-counter supplement you can get probably at any pharmacy. The other one is cinnamon capsules. So cinnamon expands in the stomach once you swallow it.
Cinnamon?
Cinnamon capsules. Yep.
So I actually I have a little cocktail that I was making for a little while, but I put cinnamon in it, just cinnamon, just the spice.
Yeah, cinnamon's good for you.
It's funny because you don't really taste a whole bunch of it, but I know that it helps relieve blood pressure, right?
Cinnamon?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
No.
No, I don't know. I could be. I just haven't heard that.
Well,
I mean, it's
there's
great
several-
for blood sugar.
Oh.
Blood sugar regulation, but
I
I've
know
never
there are
heard
several. I mean, I know it has several things. That
tons
it's
of
good for,
stuff.
right?
It's great for you. It's good spice. So, chromium picolate, cinnamon, having some behavior modification alternatives, protein shake. Sometimes maybe a what do they call it? Like a rice cake.
Yeah.
With like a little bit of peanut
Peanut
butter.
butter. Oh yeah, man.
And a couple of dark chocolate morsels on top of that. I mean, that's a great alternative snack.
Those patties are only 50 calories, dude.
That's the thing. You get the salt, you get a little bit of the sugar. Dark chocolate is excellent for you.
In moderation.
It's an acquired taste in moderation, but sometimes that's something you can reach for when you're like, I just want some chocolate, rather than your milk chocolate.
Hey, real quick, back to the hormones that are released during whenever you eat.
Yeah.
Please excuse my ignorance, but so like an Oreo, for example, we had talked last time about how, these scientists get together and they make these, these chemicals, whatever.
Yeah.
So do they make, and I'm just using Oreo because you brought it up. Can an Oreo bring out different hormones than say a rice cake?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and can that be also, I'm not going to speculate, but I mean, can that be by design? You think?
Certainly could be.
I mean, if you're like, if there's
You wanna
certain, if
sell
there's a
products.
range of products,
Yeah.
or if there's a range of foods or chemicals that release certain hormones.
Yeah, we talked about Big Macs, or the French fries, from McDonald's. We know these are addictive foods. There's a hormone called ghrelin that is also released. It makes us hungry, and so ghrelin's produced with sugar. You eat a little bit, you get this oxytocin release, this reward benefit type of thing, and then you start thinking about it more. There's something called delta phos B and dopamine. There's a dopamine release with these foods as well. Dopamine's another reward neurotransmitter that's released. So there's definitely a psychological component, an addiction component to food that we really have to tackle. It's not a matter of willpower when you're dealing with hormones like peptide YY and ghrelin. And so we can segue into some of those medications.
Well,
that's
real
why
quick,
they work.
Yeah. So basically, if I'm hearing you right, what your suggestions are, and I've done some of these things. So I cut up peppers.
Good.
I dip them in hummus, or
Great.
I'll have a snack. It's also a good snack for the puppy once in a while. It's a lot cheaper than buying those very high-priced dog treats that we get.
Yeah.
Well, they're just as bad as regular food.
I like to cut up a cucumber and have that in a Tupperware in the refrigerator. So what I do is, instead of having 30 chips, I'm actually counting my chips, and that's helping a little bit as well. The other thing too is when we go out to eat, I think, so you've had a great breakfast, you had your sandwich on, 45 calorie bread for lunch, whole grain. You didn't, use the olive oil, mayo as a choice. You're making some of those decisions. And now it's time to go out to dinner because we have a chamber event or, whatever. We have life happens at night. And one of the things Amy and I have been discussing, and we started doing it, is splitting a meal. And so, that I still feel full when I leave, but I'm not as tired and worn out.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, another tip that I think would be highly recommended, right?
Absolutely.
Split a meal. Why not? You get these massive portions
Huge
of
portions.
food. Michael Moore, the filmmaker, was on Leno one night, and he's like, I went to Italy. I don't know why everybody over there is so skinny. And Leno looks at him, he goes, portions.
That's right. He's absolutely
portions.
right.
It was like,
He's
of course,
absolutely right.
And so that's some things I'm going to be trying to implement. And then you mentioned the 2 over-the-counter supplements. I'm going to look both of those up. Obviously, maybe give one of those a try and see what's going on.
The other one would be apple cider vinegar. They make capsules.
You got to be the capsules.
Yep, they've got capsules. They got gummies.
They got capsules that are just as effective as the shot or as the liquid.
So doing a shot glass of apple cider vinegar is going to be more concentrated.
You got to be a special kind of man or a
I've
special
done.
kind of person.
I did it for a year. I had problems with reflux.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't making the health.
Yeah.
I was in my
Sure.
early 40s, so I wasn't making as good of food decisions as I am now. I did it for like a year. I lost like 5 pounds, and it completely healed my reflux. Like reflux is not a thing. I could go eat a Whataburger, double bacon, whatever right now, and wash it down with a slice of pizza and a beer, and I would not have heartburn. And it was a big problem in my life.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
But I only did it for like a year, and I didn't mind drinking it. Once I did it for a while,
Yeah.
it was like, it was kind of just like, you pucker a little, but.
So I had a patient this week that has been on proton pump inhibitors like Nexium, omeprazole, that sort of thing, for years, and has been unsuccessful of weaning himself off. And so we were able to successfully do that using apple cider vinegar and papaya chewable tablets. Papaya chewable tablets. Fantastic. But yeah, so, that sort of thing.
Create an environment in your house so when you're reaching for snacks, other things are, visible. And it takes a little, I have to cut up the thing. Another thing right now, it's been really hot in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the kids. I've been cutting up a lot of fruit, and I don't know about all the benefits of fruit.
So we got to be careful with certain fruits.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fructose, a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Bananas and things like that. Now, I'm not saying don't eat bananas, but, people make a mistake sometimes when they're doing
fruit. It's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, or a bunch of grapes, and they'll just sit there and eat grapes and grapes and grapes, and you might as well be eating Skittles.
Yeah.
A few grapes is okay, but a whole, slew of them is a ton of sugar. It's too much, or
Pineapple.
Putting bananas in your protein shake, unless you're fixing to go run 5 miles, is not really a benefit to you.
Well, would cantaloupe be a better choice?
So the melons, have a lot of sugar too. What I say with fruit is reach for berries. You've got a lot of fiber. So your strawberries, your blueberries, your blackberries, your raspberries, and cherries.
Okay,
those are great alternatives for fruit. There's a lot of fiber in them. I recommend berries
over fruit during the summer.
Over cantaloupe.
Yeah. Well, it's berry season right now in Texas too, which is great. So you can get all that stuff at a discount. So
the other thing, talking about cravings, especially here in South Texas, everyone's dehydrated. So sometimes you're not hungry, you're actually thirsty. And so we reach for the chips with salt and things like that. And
more thirsty.
Right. And you eat more chips. So, the first thing I would say, too, after you've eaten something and it's been an hour and I'm still hungry, is go get a big, tall glass of water and drink it. And then wait a little bit, wait some time and see if that helps with the cravings, too. But, you mentioned Ozempic. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to ask about because I think there's a lot of people in Texas, and a lot of my friends. I'm 50, right? So there's, a lot of
congratulations, by the way, on your recent birthday.
Thank you very much. But my thing is a lot of people at from the 45 to 55, my friend range essentially. The people in that age range, their hormones in their body are changing. It's hard. They're at that point where they're running high school kids around and, soccer and, they're doing the best they possibly can. And so they need a little help. And the one thing we really didn't get to on the last show, and I wanted to make sure, is I keep seeing ads and I keep talking to people and I'll see a buddy and it's like, what'd you lose, 70 pounds? Oh yeah. I went and saw my doctor. I tried everything and this is what they recommended. So what in the world, there's a magic pill now?
Well, no.
Okay. Dang it.
Now there is there's a lot better treatments coming out for the management of obesity than we've ever had before. I will say that. The statistics I think are behind in this country when it comes to obesity. Some latest statistics says 4 out of 10. Just go to HEB and do a survey of 10 people, and you'll find that almost 10 out of 10 are overweight or obese. And so obesity has never really affected been effectively treated here. And it's gotten worse over the years. You know, you see, we've probably seen the memes. You know, you go back to the 1970s, the pictures of people on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody's overweight.
Yeah.
You know, now everybody's overweight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the status symbol is to be skinny.
Yeah.
Right. You know, to have a washboard ab is like crazy. You know, and that's the other thing is on these influencers and things. You know, if you have a washboard ab, you have more credence than a PhD in nutrition.
Wow.
Because, you know, people listen to you because
they wouldn't look like you.
It's peculiar. It's, you know, it's like, that's not the norm. So anyway, obesity hasn't been treated effectively. It's always been, you know, eat less and move more.
Well, and it's led to diabetes.
Well,
absolutely. I mean, a massive, you know, explosion of diabetes.
So if you look at the umbrella diagnosis, it's called metabolic syndrome. It's insulin resistance. It's hyperlipidemia. It's hypertension. You know, all this comes under the umbrella of metabolic syndrome. And that's what tons of people, it leads to fatty liver disease, which can lead to fibrosis and then eventually cirrhosis. More and more people are needing liver transplants not related to alcohol abuse.
Wow.
Because of cirrhosis secondary to fatty liver disease, which comes from your metabolic syndrome. It's crazy. So, you know, Ozempic is a brand name of a medication called semaglutide. And when Ozempic came out, and they did the original studies and submitted for approval and indication of diabetes treatment, they did find people lost a lot of weight. And it kind of got, you know, the attention of some of these, you know, researchers and so on. And they said, well, let's take this molecule and study it in non-diabetics and see if it's safe and effective in just losing weight, in which they did. And of course they did. So although a diabetic medication, this semaglutide is in a classification called a GLP-1, which is a glucagon-like peptide. It's an agonist, so it stimulates more production of the GLP-1 hormone. GLP-1 hormone, when released, it goes to your brain, tells you you're full, it increases insulin sensitivity, helps regulate blood sugar, but it doesn't cause hypoglycemia. So the receptors and the effect of the receptors kind of turn off once your blood sugar drops below 80, around 70. So it doesn't cause hypoglycemia. So essentially, although it's a diabetic medication, could be very safe in non-diabetics, right? So go ahead.
Okay, so the medication lowers your blood sugar.
Indirectly. So it doesn't directly lower the blood sugar. It increases your insulin sensitivity, which the insulin's job is to drive blood sugar out of the bloodstream and into our cells so that the cells can make energy, adenosine triphosphate, out of the glucose. So when you have increased insulin sensitivity, the insulin, think of like cops and robbers. Sugar are the robbers running around in the blood, running free, causing all kinds of problems. Insulin's like the cops. It goes and attaches or binds and brings glucose into the cell. So you don't want blood sugar running around the bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens over time with like metabolic syndrome or diabetes is you become insulin resistant, meaning you have a tolerance. So you have a lot of insulin.
And so you got to take more.
Well, it takes more. More and more and more, and the beta cells in the pancreas are trying to release and you know make more insulin. Over time, the cells themselves become more resistant to the effect of insulin. So you need more and more and more and more and more of it. Well, the more exposure you have, the more resistant and tolerant you become to it. So it's a bad cycle. So you know, so the medicine works by increasing the cell's sensitivity to the effect of insulin.
Okay, so
then bringing down the blood sugar.
Okay, so and I think that might have indirectly answered my question. So I've been taking Mounjaro, which is it's a competitor to Ozempic, right?
So, yeah. So
it's like Bayer versus, or it's like Advil versus Tylenol.
Sort of. So Mounjaro is a GLP-1 agonist, but it also has another component called a GIP.
Okay.
So it's a newer form, if you will. It's the new kid on the block.
Okay.
It's called
Okay, so Mounjaro. is the one that I'm taking. And so like I'm not diabetic and I've never had diabetic issues, but my family is diabetic. And so I recently on my own, I started putting the sensor on to see what my blood sugar does.
Yeah.
You know, not because I'm diabetic, just because I'm a nerd. So I noticed after I noticed leading up to before me starting to take Mounjaro, my blood sugar would always spike at a meal. And then so like I would do my best not to overeat, eat better, have better things, because you know I realize that those spikes aren't good for you, especially you know like if they peak up into 200, that's really bad. So keeping it under it right at 140 was tough, you know, and then so but it never dipped below 70 or 80, never. And then so I started taking Mounjaro once a week. It's a shot. And I stay at 60.
Your blood sugar stays at 60?
It is frequently in 60. It goes between 60 and 70 a lot.
Yeah.
And then so, but I don't feel
You're not eating enough.
But that shot is supposed to keep me for. Are you kidding me right now?
Is that metric at 60? Like, man, come on, man, you got to eat something.
So, where I would when you just answered what you did about the sensitivity, in my brain I was thinking, okay, well the sensor that I have, it's measuring, but it is not. I don't know. In my head, it kind of made sense, but I guess it doesn't. So.
Well, yeah, it's going to keep your blood sugar controlled. It's going to keep you from having those spikes because your insulin, once you eat, insulin's released. Okay, and that insulin is there, and it's going to be prime for the job of keeping your sugar from spiking.
All right, so
hold on. This is real world data. Hold on, just hold on. So is that bad then?
No.
For me to be down in the 60s like that?
Well, it depends on how you feel. Some people may feel bad in the 60s.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say bad, like symptoms of hypoglycemia, you can be kind of disoriented, you can sweat.
And that's what I looked up. I looked up low blood sugar and then the symptoms of low blood sugar. And I didn't have any of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fine.
But this little device here is telling me, "Hey man, you're low." And then it has a different color for whenever you're low, right? So I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel bad, so I just was like, be right.
Yeah.
So that's okay then.
It's okay.
Okay, as long as you don't feel bad.
We need to eat more.
You realize that, and you know, he's my healthcare professional, by the way, and so he prescribed me the shot. It's not something you can get off the shelf. So it comes from a prescription from you because I eat too much.
Yeah.
All right.
And now you're.
All right. So anyway, going back to Ozempic.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like the medical industry, because of diabetes, has found this incredible medicine that is smart, makes sense. Healthcare providers like it. The studies seem to support everything. We have millions and millions of people using it now. It seems extremely effective. It's amazing for diabetes. It's amazing for weight loss. And the insurance companies are going to buy it for everybody because it saves them so much money.
Yeah, well, they don't. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Insurance companies aren't going to pay for this.
So here's the thing.
I would think, you would think, because obesity is the biggest.
It's huge.
It's like the biggest problem with our health right now.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's got to be expensive for insurance companies to deal with obesity.
So the cost of it outright, if you go buy it without insurance, is about $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay. So again, semaglutide, the molecule of Ozempic, was indicated, studied, branded for diabetes. They found a bunch of weight loss. Then they studied it in non-diabetics. That molecule, semaglutide. People lost a ton of weight. 52 weeks a year study, people lost 15% of their body weight, And this was on par with gastric bypass, with gastric sleeve, with bariatric surgery. So people to lose this amount of weight, it took them to go and have surgery, drastic changes they're able to do now with a medication, which is phenomenal, which is unheard of, which has never happened before. So they then took it and they branded it with a different name, Nova Dordis, or whatever the name of the company is, branded it with Wegovy. So semaglutide is the molecule, that's the medication or generic name. is Ozempic as Wegovy is the same medication. So Wegovy has the indication for weight loss in non-diabetics. Ozempic has the indication for diabetes. So here's the problem. You come to me and you say, hey, I've been doing all these great things. I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm not losing nothing. It's I no matter what I do, I gain weight. Prescribe me Ozempic. I say, I'd love to prescribe it for you. But the problem is your insurance company, because you're not a diabetic, is not going to approve it. And the other thing is something called a prior authorization. So a lot of medications now, I can prescribe whatever I want, based on your medical need and diagnosis and indications and safety, right? But then the insurance company says, well, this medicine needs a prior authorization. So I prescribe it, then I get this document that I have to fill out to say why you need it. And then there's someone on the other end that decides whether or not they're going to approve it or not. And so I can't just prescribe Ozempic to you because, number one, it'll work. Number two, it's safe. Number three, you need it. But I can't prescribe it to you and get it approved through your insurance company because you're not a diabetic. Even though semaglutide has been studied and approved for weight loss under the name of Wegovy. So then we say, okay, well then prescribe me Wegovy. Sure, I'd love to. But 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be approved by your insurance company.
So people are paying this out of pocket a lot of times. I would think there's got to be a pharmacist smart enough to be able to cook this up in the lab somehow, right?
So that's what's going on. That's what's going on.
I heard,
now.
And you mentioned that I believe in the first episode. So tell me about that. They can just cook up they're mixing up the medicine over there. I mean, what?
So compounding pharmacies are compounding the molecule, okay, and what they're using to do it, I'm not sure. I'm not a compounding pharmacist. Yeah. There are some rules involved with trademark and things like that that they have to be careful with. In fact, I read an article recently that Norva Notice, or the company that owns the trademark and so on for the molecule, is suing now clinics and compounding pharmacists. Now, I don't know how well, that could be scare tactics, because, they're losing money. And so I do know that compounding pharmacies can compound the medicine when there's a shortage. Well, there's definitely a shortage. Give you an example, Wegovy, that brand for weight loss. There's a huge shortage right now. So the majority of my patients that I prescribe it for cannot get it, even if it's approved by their insurance company.
Wow.
And that's happened. This is the second time this has happened, because I think the rep had told me recently there was over 290,000 prescriptions just in this South area.
Makes sense.
A week.
Why do they even need a rep?
A week.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so they're not able to keep up with the demand.
290,000 a week.
A week.
Well,
they can't keep up with the demand. And so these compounding pharmacists are compounding the medication. This is a way for patients to get the medication. Doesn't matter about their diabetes indication for Ozempic or whatever. They're compounding the generic semaglutide molecule, and we're bypassing insurance companies. So the patient's paying for it, bypassing the overhead and the middleman and everything, and they're getting it at a very discounted rate from the $1,000 a month for the branded medication.
To roughly what, $300?
$200 to $300 per month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
even lower if you have sauna.
Well, and so there's basically this one molecule and then another variation. So there's basically two companies that have this type of medicine.
So the GLP-1 class has several medications. There's Trulicity, there's Bydureon, there's Soliqua, there's a bunch of them. Okay, but semaglutide was found to have this huge weight loss. All of them have weight loss because of the way the hormone works. It tells your brain you're full faster, so there's satiety. The cravings, the preoccupation with food and sugar goes away, and you have that insulin sensitivity and better utilization of your own hormones. So that hormone balance that gets in balance with obesity, your ghrelin, your peptide YY, your DPP4, your GLP-1, all these hormones get all out of whack in obesity. This medicine helps correct all that. And so semaglutide was the big man on the street. Well, the next guy is Tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro. So Mounjaro, that Tirzepatide, that's the generic molecule, has found the same benefits that semaglutide can give you with less side effects. See, one of the problems with increasing that GLP-1 hormone is you can have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. You feel like you just ate Thanksgiving dinner, and you're just like, I don't even want to think about food. And if you do, because of that psychological component, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I tell this to patients all the time. I'm like, listen, when you're full, push away from the plate. That old adage that we all grew up with, the next generation isn't doing that, but we did. Whatever's on that plate, you finish it. Or you
that's such a weird psychological thing for me. Mm-hmm. I have to finish my plate.
Me too. I grew up in a family of, there was 5 of us, and
you didn't waste food.
There was hell to pay.
Yeah.
Hell, I mean, like beat down if you did not finish your food. So with this medicine, you're going to feel full faster than the regular pathway, which takes about 20 minutes. You're going to be full a lot faster than that. So you get through 2 chicken strips, and you're like, I'm full. But you got 4 more sitting on the plate. So if you overeat, you're going to have these GI upsets, your nausea, your vomiting, your diarrhea. Heartburn.
The medicine
sulfur
will make you pay.
Yeah.
The reaction from the medicine in your body will make you pay.
So
and it's designed
that way.
Sulfur
burps, like these nasty sulfur tasting burps and things like that. So the Tirzepatide, which is that Mounjaro, has the same effects for the weight loss and the insulin sensitivity, but it has less of those side effects than the semaglutide does. And so they've done some studies recently, some head-to-head studies comparing semaglutide and Tirzepatide, and the Tirzepatide had even greater weight loss. Right now, though, the only indication for Mounjaro from the FDA is for diabetes. There's no other indication for that medication. Now, it's on the fast track with the FDA and all the regulation and red tape to be approved for weight loss. Once it's approved for weight loss, then, you can start prescribing that. Now, we mentioned you take the medication. Mm-hmm. You're not a diabetic.
Right.
So it's called an off-label use. I know it's safe. I know it's effective. I've seen the studies. The studies are already done. So although there's not FDA approval indication for weight loss, I can prescribe it as an off-label medication for obesity.
Is it cheaper?
No. It's about the same.
I think when it gets down to like $50 or $100 a month, I think people are just.
That'll never happen.
You don't think so?
No.
Yeah.
No. Maybe in Mexico or
Yeah.
But not here. There's too much money to be made.
Yeah, of course.
290,000 prescriptions a week just in the South.
Look, I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on here just for a second.
$1,000 a month.
But competition
they fatten
eventually
you up, and now they got the keys of the kingdom to get you not fat again. And then it's like, no, we're not going to give this to you either.
I see the
medical food is cheap. The chemical induced, fatty food that's cheap, and you can get as much of that as you want, and we're going to make money on it. And now you want to get rid of that off the hips. You're going to have to pay for that too.
I have one last question on this, and we can at least put a bow on it for now. My last question is this something you can do for 6 months, and then let's take you off of it for 3, and let's see how you do, or is that kind of the way you manage it, or
that's a great question. First of all, the medicine was studied in a diabetic population. So typically when you're diabetic, right, you're always diabetic.
Yeah.
And so they were within mind of long-term therapy. Mm-hmm. So is it safe long-term? Well, the studies, a lot of them were, a year. Yes, it's safe. GLP-1 agonists have been around a long time. You do have some risks involved of things like pancreatitis and, of course, the things I mentioned, the GI upset and stuff like that. So patient goes on the medication, right? You got to be followed closely. It's not something I would do on your own. And we're looking for, how much body weight do you need to lose? I have a gentleman that's on it right now. He came to me 500 pounds. He's lost 180 pounds.
Awesome.
How long has he been on it?
He's been on it about 9 months.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
9 months. This guy came to me depressed.
Oh, I'm sure.
His hormones were all out of whack. He addicted to food. Couldn't exercise because there's too much weight on his knees, right? And, once he lost his first 50 pounds, he come back. It was like a new man. He was like born again. He was so excited because nothing he'd ever tried gave him anything close to that. And every time he'd gone to a doctor, he was fat shamed. You know,
you need to lose weight.
You need to lose weight, right? And
Yeah.
it was like, okay, well, eat less and move more.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're 500 pounds.
You got to
Yeah.
teach people too. In soccer, and Sean, I think you've done a good job here on the, my relationship with you and talking about medical has been limited to this room, but I think you've done a good job at giving people real life examples of how they can organize a refrigerator, hey, I even gave a couple tips. Hey, if you're going to eat chips, why don't you measure out the servings and put them in individual Ziplocs? You know what a serving is.
The worst thing you can do is eat from the bag or
Let me
eat
go
from the
back
container.
real quick
Yeah.
to just
Anything.
finish answering your question in regards
Is this
to
a
what do you do?
10-year
So-
medication? Yeah.
So it's safe long term, but I do have several patients in which we tailor individually.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 45 pounds to lose, right? I've had several that lose 45 pounds, and they are the same weight they were in high school. They're so excited. They're wearing dresses that they wore the same size when they were in high school. They haven't looked this good. They haven't felt this good. People are telling me their whole lives have changed. Now what? And they're scared. If I go off this medication, what's going to happen? So we talk about options. First of all, your eating habits have changed.
Yep.
Okay, that psychological component has got to be there. So you teach them along the way as they're losing this 45, 50 pounds, right? And so you tell them, if we go off this medication, you've got to be mindful of how you continue to eat. Because if not, yes, it's going to come back. Those hormones can become dysregulated again. The ghrelin that makes you hungry and craving is the peptide YY and all this kind of stuff makes you eat, right? But now that you've lost the 45 pounds, your hormones have corrected. So you're in a great spot now, right? It's like the slate's been cleared.
Yep.
But now you got to do the work. So some patients, what we'll do is we'll de-escalate the medication. We'll decrease the dose. If they're on a maintenance dose, we decrease it. Cut it in half, or see how you do. Some patients have successfully come off the medication. I have several that have been off it now about 6 months. They've gained maybe 5 pounds, but they're doing great. Others came off the medication and started gaining weight pretty quickly. So we go back on it, maybe a lower dose, right? Like a maintenance type of thing. So it's tailored individualistically. It's got to be.
Yeah, and you probably don't want to come off right around Christmas time, right before the holidays. I mean, I'm sure, and that's why you go see a healthcare professional, and that's why you guys have the ability to write scripts for this. So